Hey, I'm Casey Okupi. This is Free Speech Northwest. We're going to talk about Kate Brown, Governor Kate Brown, and the race, the next upcoming governor race. And basically, she's been doing something I don't really like personally. She goes, "We Oregonians," and she's always saying "we" and "us," and then she follows it up with something that I think is just horrifying. So, Kate, don't do that, please. Stop saying "we." Now, let's introduce ourselves from left to right. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Jonathan Lockwood. I'm a political consultant.
All right.
Michael Cross. I am the editor of Turner Times and also creator of peoplesplace.us, an alternative to Facebook.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm Robert Zerfing. I'm the founder of the Common Sense Conservative and CSC Media Group.
Great. Okay. So that's interesting. We have an alternative to Facebook. I think I joined that actually. So that's good.
Glad to have you aboard.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So we have an alternative to
Censorship
Facebook.
free.
Really?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Except no porn. There's already enough porn on the internet. No, please no porn.
Yeah.
Other than that, say what you want.
Well, so it's productive. So it helps you get things done.
Exactly.
Versus porn you can't get a lot done during the day. It's not good.
It's a fleeting pleasure.
All right, now back on the topic of Kate Brown. Is anyone else bothered when she says like "we" and she's talking about like?
Well,
Yes.
who's we?
I'm pretty much bothered by anything
You
she
have
says.
Our Oregon, a fake group for the unions. It's Our Oregon. They literally mean it's ours. And as far as her whole we thing, I mean, it's like what? Her collection of lobbyist friends and special interest groups. I mean, they have all these fake interest groups. Basic Rights Oregon used to be a gay rights group, and now it's just a Kate Brown group. But, they really supported my two friends who named Ben and Paul, Ben West and Paul Rummel. And they helped overturn the state's marriage equality ban that was in the Constitution. And the ACLU and Basic Rights Oregon went from giving them applause to now basically taking their microphone and turning it into a billy club and trying to shut them up, because basically they're advocating for fixing our foster care system, which has just been turned into basically what looks like a human trafficking organization, and kids are being hoteled with so-called monitors that, I mean, what is required to even become one of those, who knows? And it's really sick. And so, they are trotting out all of these different fake spokespeople to attack two really awesome people who went from fighting that fight to fighting this fight. And Basic Rights Oregon had Rob Nose come to this press conference. They had who's a nurse who's in the legislature, and he's also gay. And then they had these two foster dads come out. They're also gay. To say like, oh, there's nothing wrong with our foster care system. And one of them was making up alternative facts, saying that the hoteling issue's been fixed. It literally has not. And in just the last week, there's been 3 horrifying cases, including one guy who had a 94-year sentence fleeing the state. And then the governor, so besides them trying to shut down that conversation and using all these other gay people, instead of just like having somebody maybe from the Department of Human Services explain that everything's just so rosy, well, no, they can't, because no one will lie like the fake groups would. And the other thing is Kate Brown's campaign is trying to shut down advertisements saying that you can sell drugs and run a daycare in Oregon. And their attorney said, it is illegal to sell drugs and run a daycare. No, but it's happening. So they're conflating all this, and people just see all these scary headlines. So yeah, I think that Kate Brown has all these surrogates, not only in the grassroots arena, but she also has people in the media who are in bed with her and helping her cover up a lot of these issues.
What do you think that, what's anyone who supports her really getting out of it? I mean, like you're mentioning people in the media. Money?
It's all about a gravy train.
Okay. Speaking of that commercial, I've seen that commercial. It's kind of, yeah, I like it. I'm gonna probably link it into the show. But since Kate, now she was like a default option as governor initially, right? Because Kitzhaber left for reasons, and then she was just placed into that role, right?
Yeah, and actually this has been a pattern of her career. She was not first elected to the legislature, she was appointed. And then she, creeped and crawled through the corridors of the Capitol until she got into the Senate, and then she did her thing there where she helped, she was rubbing elbows with Jeff Cruz. And then she ended up beating Newt Buehler for Secretary of State, and he's gotten much better since then, and she's gotten much worse since then. And then she just has used the governor's office as like kind of like her personal Las Vegas.
Interesting. What's your take?
Well, she gets a lot of support, and what the rest of the country doesn't understand is that she doesn't represent Oregon. She represents Portland, the I-5 corridor, essentially. Portland, Eugene, a little bit of Salem. But, the rest of the state, even though they're vastly outnumbered, so they lose a lot of elections, it's red, right? So, but Kate Brown is really good at going, okay, so what's everybody crying about in Portland right now? Sanctuary cities. We have a sanctuary state now. We're going to make sure all the sheriffs, can't cooperate with ICE and so on and so forth. So she does that. She makes these decisions that'll sit there and say, well, look at me. Look at me, Portland. Right. You love me, so you're going to keep voting for me. And I think, if the rest of the state and even the silent people in Portland, the Portland metro area, started getting out there and going, you know what, we could win, and then she wouldn't have a chance because she's been horrible. She's been silent about the violence. She's
promoted it.
She's promoted it.
Let's talk about that. The violence. Can you elaborate on the violence?
Well, for instance, we talk about Antifa for a second, right? Antifa, they've long before there was a Patriot movement, Antifa and leftists in Portland have been violent. Every May Day there's a riot, right? The Black Lives Matter riots, the inauguration riots. There's been riots, and yet those in charge have been silent about it. Like me personally, I've had my tires slashed 17 times by Antifa. I've been maced 15 times by Antifa.
You should sue Ted Wheeler.
And you call the cops in Portland, nothing happens.
Oh yeah,
They don't show
911
up.
is a big disaster.
Yeah.
Audits have showed how. I mean, literally every single thing in the state is failing.
She's even gone so far as to call us white supremacists. Now, Joey Gibson,
Who's
for
us
instance,
when you say us?
people on the right. If you're on the right and you go and you have a march for freedom,
Okay.
right, then you're automatically a white supremacist or a Nazi, which if Nazis don't believe in freedom, right? It's the opposite of Nazism.
How do we define white supremacists anymore? You don't have to be white, right? I mean,
Not anymore.
that's the new definition, I guess.
Well, they've corrupted everything. I mean, they've corrupted even simply words to where you have people like Candace Owens, like we were talking about earlier, getting called a white supremacist by people who are like all genderqueer and have every color of hair, and they're all white and out of shape and crazy, like screaming and shouting at like somebody who's become like basically a well-known commentator, not just in her role professionally, but outside of that. And so it's like, here's a millennial black woman who's worked her way up to the position she's in now, and she's getting called a Nazi by a group of white screaming idiots. It doesn't make any sense. And I got called homophobic and a lot of other things the other day. So it's like, if you're Jewish, you're a Nazi. If you're black, you're white supremacist. If you're gay, you're homophobic. If any of those are Republican,
That is
and that's
confusing.
they're
That's
doing
getting
that
really
because they're
confusing.
othering people, and they're trying to make it so that other people who may be thinking like, oh, I should be going down that road, or expressing it. They want
need to check
silence
their
it.
history books though, because I mean they were the ones that started the KKK. They were the ones. Actually, the Nazi Party took their whole thing. They wanted to figure out how do we marginalize the Jewish people. Is they looked at the Democratic Party to see what they were doing to black people, and they look at them as second-class citizens. So the Germans then did the same thing to the Jews. So they took that playbook from the Democrats. So and really the Antifa, they're the fascists. I mean, so
Well,
it's
the
interesting.
Antifa's the new
I mean,
KKK.
their history is sordid. I mean, it's very.
So how would we define fascism? I mean, we know what the definition is for the most part. It's like when you're trying to silence like communication.
Using force to exert your will, and prevent others from acting or speaking, and that they want to do.
Okay. And so if that is the definition of fascism, or a functional definition of fascism, then being violent towards people who, as you were saying, are not, speaking in a specific box that has been created.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're thinking outside of that box, you're being called these different names, such as fascist, but then you're also, I guess there's being violence put against people just because they're not speaking in a parameter of a specific
And it's
box.
glorified. I mean, Antifa are considered freedom fighters, like congressmen and governors, and Kate Brown, they've called Antifa freedom fighters, standing up violently against people who are actually advocating for freedom, who they're calling the Patriot side white supremacist, even though the Patriot side is always 100% of the time more diverse.
Okay.
There's more Latino, there's more black, there's more gay. Sometimes there's even more trans. On the Patriot side,
Yeah, I was astonished by that because it just is so like narrative defying.
All right, so you're saying that there are, basically all these different diverse groups that are part of this Patriot Prayer organization, right?
Not just
So
Patriot
there's
Prayer, but I mean all of the right-wing
Racial
groups that go out and do
diversity,
stuff, yeah.
there's homosexuality, there's transgender, all part of Patriot Prayer.
Yep.
Okay, so what's their criteria as far as, if I may ask you, as far as who can join that group?
There's no criteria. Just believe in freedom.
Believe in freedom.
Yep.
Trying to figure out how it correlates with racism and fascism.
Yeah.
I'm
it's-
not seeing a connection, that's all I'm saying.
And it's not just Patriot Prayer. I mean, there's a lot of different groups. Like there's a group in Salem. I mean, there's groups all over the Pacific Northwest, the West Coast, resist Marxism. I mean, they're all over the place. And they all have the exact same thing. Just believe in freedom. And believe that we can go out and anybody can go out and have a rally or a protest without fear of being assaulted. That's it.
One thing at the state level and at the national level, what the left seems to do is they accuse others of actually what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So Russian collusion. Well, the Russian collusion was Uranium One. So they were doing that.
Yeah.
And then they try and accuse Trump of doing it, which he didn't. I mean, which is just driving this country apart. I mean, it's just terrible.
Okay, so they're creating a division.
They accuse others of that which they're doing. Racists. They created the racism. They
Well-
were for the slavery.
I also think too, like when I was in high school, Abercrombie and Fitch was really popular, and it was really racy, that their ads and all that.
Yeah.
And the saying used to be sex sells. I think now in 2018, it's conflict sells, and people are profiting a lot off of whether politically or financially off of this conflict. And I think one screenshot or snapshot I had into that is, I've been like writing on Medium because if you can't get the actual media to cover real news, then you should just do it yourself, I guess,
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And the metrics on, if it said Antifa, Portland, or ICE in the headline, it was just like boom over, and I mean, it was legitimate and happening, and it was very like relevant, but I just
Gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, and I think that Portland has gotten a lot of attention, right? And you'd think that at some point, Kate Brown and Ted Wheeler would be embarrassed and do something, but they don't, because it's not, they don't even care about how they're looked at as national laughingstock by people in their own party, because they want the conflict.
Yep.
They want it.
Well, I mean, what Joey Gibson started out with, which was very admirable, and I'm glad that he did it and does it, is that we're here to make a statement, freedom of speech, and we want to peaceably assemble and say what we want to say, and he wanted everybody to see how rabid and volatile and just dangerous the left really is. So he was kind of, baiting them on, and hook on, and they were, so that we could see right before our very eyes on 6 o'clock news what was going on, and for that was very good. I mean, it was good for people to see just how crazy these people are.
Oh yeah,
You
I mean,
know?
when Donald Trump was saying he was a victim of a witch hunt, my mom
true.
did not believe me that this was real. But the Witch Portland, the group of witches in
yeah.
Portland, like literally like dressed in all black with witch hats, were not attacking the president like we as witches hate the president, but they felt marginalized by his misappropriation of the words witch hunt. And I just,
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
it wasn't even substantive or policy or anything like that, or they as witches fear that they're going to get burned at the stake or something under Trump. It was that he used the words witch hunt, and they felt that he shouldn't be doing that. And I mean, those are Kate Brown's people.
Watch
That's
it.
her.
That's copyrighted.
Well, we'll be careful how we use the term witch hunt. I don't want to marginalize witches, but I also don't believe in word policing either. So I don't know. It's hard there. But I want to keep thinking about Kate, talking about where we're going with the
Yeah.
next governor. Because I'm wondering what percentage of Oregonians actually are behind voting for Kate Brown, and because I look at her Twitter and she'll tweet something, and then it'll have like 5 comments, and
Yeah.
3 or 4 will be,
Yeah,
against
I
what
could
she's
tweet
saying.
that I got
Do you have any
coffee and get
polling
more likes
numbers
than her.
lately of
Yeah.
Kate Brown?
Yeah, so she actually, in recent polling, 25% of her own party said that they will not vote for her or don't think that they can. That's huge.
Well, that means
problem for
75%
her.
will vote for her.
Yeah, 75% of her own party though is not
Yeah,
not good
no
numbers,
Republicans gonna
and
vote for her.
she's wildly unpopular. She's about as unpopular as Donald Trump is in Oregon, when you look at it as a whole. And I think that Donald Trump is a lot more popular with Republican voters than people would want to try and say. But yeah, I think you look at it, and it's so when I got to Oregon was the start of the 2017 legislative session, and I was just like, what are they doing? I mean, they were passing a bill to make it so that we already were a sanctuary state, but we have to reiterate that we are with all this bill, legislation and all this. And they were marketing it as a privacy for all Oregonians bill. Well, what that bill would do is make it so that ICE literally cannot get any information from law enforcement for criminally convicted, people that were not here illegally. And it's just like, why were they marketing it as privacy? And it's because they don't actually want to tell people what they're doing. When they passed the reproductive health care equity bill, it was really just a $500,000, I believe, gift card to Planned Parenthood, and all it was to do is make it so that abortion was free.
Yep.
It wasn't enshrining Roe versus Wade at the state level. It was to create free abortions for all. And in the House Republicans tried to fight the bill, right? And they basically said, well, we want to pull this other bill to the floor to ban late-term and gender-based abortions. Well, the Democrats were like, no, we're not talking about that. And then it was like, conversation's over. And then they went on to talk about the Abortion Free for All bill. Well, so when it was coming to the Senate, I was like, we're not going to, those are the 2 things they don't want to talk about with this bill. So we in the Senate made every single conversation about that bill, about what it really was doing. And they were losing it. I mean, and then you look at, they blocked the construction of a mental health facility. And even just the other day, Molly Woon, who's the deputy director of the Democrat Party, wrote a piece on Medium, and she literally wrote that this healthcare facility was going to poach patients and workers from other hospitals. Well, those hospitals that she's mentioning are union hospitals. And so the unions, during the testimonies of this legislation moving through, were trying to say that it was going to damage their bottom line. And that's the real reason that the Democrats didn't want this mental health facility built for veterans and their families. was that it was going to impact their wallets. Whereas, and honestly too, I mean, this healthcare facility would have been a private healthcare facility. It wouldn't have been taxpayer funded. It would have been able to provide much needed care for veterans at no cost to taxpayers. But they used the certificate of need process to basically wrap it up in red tape. And they were getting called out on that. And so it was like issue after issue after issue. We just took them on all those issues. And those are all the issues that are actually defining the gubernatorial race today.
I mean, I personally, I wouldn't hire Kate Brown to park my car. I mean, I mean, I don't know of anything that she's done effectively as a good leader. I mean, when we had the
effectively
standoff,
raised taxes, right?
Yep.
well, she has done that. She's great at doing that. That is true. But if you go back to what happened in Eastern Oregon in the standoff at the refuge with the Bundys, and she, I mean, this was very big as far as, you know, the mistake that she made, instructing the feds to get in here just as quick as they can and end this thing. Basically, she was putting out a hit on those people, asking for the feds to come and kill them. And it's like, what she didn't realize is, look, you do that and you elevate this situation to that degree, you're going to start a revolution in this country. That woman is ignorant and stupid. You've got too many people in this country. Actually, that's the wrong word. Well, from her perspective, it's too many people. But we have so many people in this country that are patriots, that are 3%ers, that are militia. They've taken oaths. They were either in the active duty military or they've taken an oath. You know, they've never been in the active, but they are going to defend the Constitution and protect innocent people. And we have said that we're not going to have any more the situation at Waco. We're not going to have any more situations of what happened with Randy Weaver, where they shot his wife standing there holding the baby in the doorway of their cabin in rural Idaho. I mean, so we're not going back to there. And she almost got us there. If she wanted to start a war in this country, she almost did it. And the other thing, and she's just very, very bad at protecting our forests, you know, the deadfalls and stuff like that, and proper forest management, and just let it all go up in smoke, almost as bad as California. I mean, it's just, she's just terrible. Just terrible.
I mean,
is it just me, or is she just an extremely weak candidate? I mean, does she not have a snowball's chance to get reelected, or what? I mean, who likes her, right? I mean,
well, the lobbyists love her.
Special
and the
interests.
unions love her too, or at least I think they sort of do. But you know, she let our state get turned into an ashtray, and it's more important. I mean, you can look at why. Well, people that want to address that issue are more aligned with Republicans. So she would rather hit everybody's, you know, pocketbooks than address like a serious issue. But the thing is too is. It's not just that she's unpopular or that she's weak in this way. I actually think, you know, she's very calculated. And so there's this fear of when you like call her just like a big dummy. She's worse than that. It's like this insidiously like calculating, manipulative. I mean, she's even done interviews where she said that she had to lie to create momentum for the legislation that she wanted passed. I mean, she's literally gone out there and lied to Oregonians. She is somebody that I think is, you know, I mean, if you want to see an artifact of fascism, it's her administration. What's happening to kids and veterans and seniors and people, the homelessness, we're the #1 state. The only thing that we're like #1 for is horrible youth homelessness. And it's sad because the state's so beautiful, and it's just the people here, I think, have this interesting, I mean, people here are vibrant, they are accepting. You know, when I first came here too, it's like, you know, with the Republican Party being a lot more conservative here than Republican parties in even red states sometimes. You know, I thought, well, I wonder how this is gonna be, but people are generally accepting, and so I think that Kate Brown exploits people's big hearts in Oregon, and
we typically, up until 25 years ago, we typically had a Republican governor.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, there's like a handful of politicians in Oregon that are doing a really good job, and you know, you may not like everything they do. I mean, Ted Ferrielli was a remarkable Republican leader, and I think Julie Parrish is doing a great job in the House. Kim Thatcher. I mean, you have a lot of these people that are doing really great, but they can't even get basic things done. Senator Boquist was trying to get that legislation for the veterans, and I mean, he called it bureaucratic terrorism, what was happening. And Alan Olson, another senator, he is a veteran, and he saw what was happening. And you see, and then you have these Republicans who like cut deals with Kate Brown every chance they get. You have Jackie Winters, who's making it so that a little innocent disabled girl in her district can't even get a school bus because she sits on the HOA. And I'm thinking, what senator wants to also be on their HOA? I mean, are you on enough things? And then you're going to use that position to hurt this little girl. And so we have a problem, I think, in the state with leaders not caring. And you have a lot of them who do, but unfortunately the ones at the top of the food chain are the ones who don't. And I think that, you know, if I could have like one prayer for Oregon, it would be like, we need new leadership. I think we need term limits. I think we need to get this collection of, you know, people who have been in there longer than I've been alive. They need to get out. And a lot of them you'll see, I mean, look at the legislature. In what state, when you have a weakened and battled Democrat governor who's getting people killed, and none of the Republicans, well, no, I shouldn't say none, but very few of the Republicans are out campaigning for Newt.
Yeah.
You don't see Jackie Winters helping Newt, and why is that?
She's very much pro-life. Jackie is. I believe so. I believe she's very.
But
pro-life.
at some point, like, I mean, she didn't weigh in on the primaries. What was she doing during the primaries? I mean, these people don't care whether Kate Brown's governor or not.
I mean,
and
that's the
think
problem.
That they
I mean,
need
in
to.
Oregon, the left really sticks together, and even when one is attacked legitimately, like some scandal erupts, and they circle the wagons and they, and they
Tina
back them up.
Kotek
But
and
when it
Peter
happens on the
Courtney are
right,
doing that right
they're like,
now.
"Oh no, we don't know that person."
Yeah,
No, I don't.
There's a lot of division going on, and that's concerning to me. I think that we need to, like, if you claim to be conservative or you are conservative, something along those lines, we need to try to support each other and really try to figure out what's best and just do what's best for Oregon. And I don't think anybody is looking at Kate Brown as the answer to vote for next governor. At least that's my personal perspective, because we have higher taxes. Where I think they improved a little bit at school, in the schools and stuff, but we're still like third in the country. And then, you know, we have all
Third
these,
from the bottom, you mean?
yeah, third from the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
And,
it depends on like what you look like too, because we're like
Sure.
48th in education for this in this way, like graduation rates. We're like 49th
Yeah.
in this.
We're 47th
And Portland
now.
Public
Yay!
Schools makes like, you know, what's happening in Portland Public Schools makes your skin crawl. What's happening? I mean,
Yeah.
Oregon is like, I think, the epicenter of a lot of bad things on the left, but you know, we're the abortion mecca of the country. We're the epicenter of left-wing violence.
I think it's because of all the witchcraft.
Well, I mean, it's just gotten out of control.
Can't
I mean,
marginalize witches here.
you know, you have a group called Vehement, which is basically the voluntary extinction of humans movement. They called procreation. Yeah, it's real. It's a growing movement here in
We're gonna
Oregon.
have them on the show. You're invited.
And
We'd like you to come on.
they called procreation a human rights violation, and they promote abortion to
How does that-
address climate change. And they hand out condoms that say, you know, wrap with care, save the polar bear. And it's just, and that's here in Oregon. It's like, how do you have like such a beautiful state and so many amazing people, but these like, you know, we're the city of roses, but there's these vicious thorns that need to get, you know,
Well,
cut out.
and that's the thing too, you know, and I've always been upset with the Oregon Republicans because Portland is easy. It is so easy to sit there and go, look, this is who you're voting for. Keep
Right.
Portland weird. It's a thing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and there's a reason. I mean, watch Portlandia.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot. Just look.
No
just,
more new episodes. You're trying to put an end to the.
Yeah, you know, but it's like, but you know, I used to go around walking around downtown Portland, and I'd ask people what they think about Trump, and just to get reactions from people and just show the hate. And yeah, there was a lot of hate, but there was a lot of people going, "No, I voted for him," like really
Right.
quiet. They
Oh,
whisper
nice.
it because they're afraid.
Oh yeah.
No, he's
But
my guy.
like,
He's my guy.
I've been to benefits with like all these, you know, every spectrum of the LGBT community, and people would you know, that's the Republican guy, like go
Yeah.
talk to him. And sometimes it was more pleasant than others. But it was amazing to me how many, even liberal gay men voted for Donald Trump, and how many really are not happy with Kate Brown. And you ask some of them who are still like cheerleaders for her why, they can't answer the question. And so I think you're right to sit there and say, oh, we can't win because of Portland. That's an excuse used by the people in this party that have been part of the problem and orchestration of a lot of bad pieces of legislation and public policy.
We got to wrap up. We got to wrap this episode up. I think there might have been one or two questions that we got to touch on. Did you have any questions? Anybody in the back?
Am I on?
Is that on? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Nevertheless, Jonathan, I appreciate you coming. We're going to be losing a real good liability in the state of Oregon. And you
Yeah.
keep doing what you're doing. We need more people on the streets that's doing everything. My question is this, and I'm going to lay it out to everybody. 19% in the electoral, this primary election ain't going to do the state. And like Jonathan said, Portland voters has dropped since 2012 Obama election. It's down 200,000 voters throughout the 3-county area. This is facts. You can look it up on your Secretary of State. If you give me 71% east of the Cascades Republicans, you'll attract an extra 10 or 15% independents. You give me 65 to 70% south, you give me 59 to 65% in the valley and the coast, you can get Newt in office. Do I like him? No. But he have voted, when you look at his legislative record, 75%. That is conservative values. That is on the record of the state of Oregon. I'm a pro-life. I'm a constitutional conservative. If you want to call me a black redneck, no bid. But nevertheless, I believe the main question is this. The choice that we got to make is this. Do you want cap and invest that makes California $25 billion that they keep off books, pay for off-book programs? 40 cents a gallon extra to 65 cents a gallon extra in your fuel? $50 to $150 a month added to your air conditioning or in the wintertime heating? Being told that you can't have a fireplace, you need to vote for Kate Brown, because she will take away the rights of businesses and individuals to be able to reside in their own territories, houses. If you choose to vote for Newt, I believe that we can get a party and get some of the consensus together. Do I want to vote for him? No. But as a personal sense, I think he'll be a lot better than Kate Brown. If people don't get off their posteriors, Eastern, Southern, Valley, and the coast, what's coming next is these three things. You're talking about water well rights. That come with your property. They want to take away your water well rights by putting a permit. It starts out at a small fee. I've seen it happen in California in 1986. It starts out with $10 just for permit fee. All of a sudden now, it's $4,000 if you got a high volume well or tailpipe in the river that you have water rights to. How many more rights are you people willing to give up?
It's time to stop giving up those rights. It's time to stop giving them up.
Time to fight.
Absolutely.
You got to fight. And the last
Got to
thing,
do what's best for Oregon, and it's not going to be Kate. We got to vote the right way and do what's best for everyone here in Oregon.
Amen.
Amen. I'm going to leave it at that.
All right. Well, thank you.
A lot of people didn't vote for Romney because he was a Mormon. I'd much rather have had Romney than Obama.
There you go.
I have a question for Jonathan.
Oh.
So there is, I don't think that mic's on, but there is a lot of discussion about how the Democrat Party in the past is like very racist and all these sort of things. But that's the past, and we do have a lot of extremism, but we have extremism on both sides. What do you feel that Democrats, what do you feel that Republicans can do to start inviting that side over? Because we have so much extremism going on that really what we want is something in the middle. Because I think we're all kind of almost getting bored with I don't know, I'm kind of bored with what's going on in Portland. I think that we see it so much, it's like, well, yeah, you guys are just kind of bullies out there. What do you feel can happen to bring them over?
I think that the biggest thing the Republican Party needs to do is start having conversations and forcing conversations, because the Democrats here don't want to talk about really anything they're actually doing. They'll send out press releases and they want to be quoted, and they want to do interviews as long as it's with somebody not asking them actually tough questions. But Republicans, I think, it's hard because you don't want to keep up the infighting, but it takes clearing up the House to really invite anybody in, and so I think it's tough. It's going to be like continuing to get these groups together, and kind of with what you were talking about earlier with the rubber band thing. I mean, I just think each election cycle brings opportunity to kind of bring people together on issues, specific issues like tolling or like sanctuary state policies, and even like the ballot proposal to stop taxpayer-funded abortion. I can't tell you how many people that are Democrats tell me that they're like, wait, we do that? They thought it was just, some national RNC talking point. And so it's just really, and I think that you actually said it, it's you can't just say, oh, we can't win, look at Portland, there it is.
Right.
It takes going into Portland. I mean,
Well,
I think that's really where it's at.
To kind of add to that a little bit, one of the things that I've started to do is I've started to talk more at these events. I have an American flag on my hat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everybody automatically goes, "You're one of them." I'm like, "Yes, I am."
It's crazy. I've even gotten that, and I'm just like wearing like normal clothes and like no like flags or hats or anything like that.
Right.
And I'm like, how did you know I'm a Republican? And I guess we all just have a look.
You don't look like a meth head.
Well, I get these people, and they automatically say you're a Nazi because you're one of them. And I say, no, I'm a conservative. And they go, well, what's the difference? And like I've had these conversations, and I'm like, I believe in freedom. I believe in liberty. I believe in a small government. And then we start, after the yelling stops, we actually have a conversation. We're like, no, see, we agree on a lot. Like, we agree on a lot of stuff. And now we can get into the whole details of how you hate fascists? Leave the Democrat Party. Stop allowing them to control your everything in life. You can't even have a lemonade stand without getting a ticket, right? Because you don't have the proper permits. I mean, that's
Right.
fascism. So, why don't you join the right for freedom? And we have these conversations. I think that's the only way that we'll bring people into the middle or even to anything.
Well, I'd like to say that, even recently, like I post a lot of views. I'm kind of opinionated. I don't know if you realize that. But I post a lot of views online, and then people are like, you're a brick wall. It's annoying talking to you. Shut up. I don't want to hear you anymore, or something like that.
You're a
Basically,
racist.
what they don't ask is if I'm hypothetically like a bad negative thing. What they don't ask is why. Like, somebody doesn't turn to me and go, why do you think that? And so I want to ask all of you, when you disagree with somebody, please ask them why they think what they think. Because
Absolutely.
you might have a preconceived notion. You might have heard, don't talk to that guy, he's a scary Nazi. Or he's a racist, or he's a fascist. You might have heard that. The concern is maybe walk over to them, because they're probably not instantly going to punch you in your face, and just go, hey, I heard you feel this way about something. I don't feel that way. I think that's kind of bad, but I'd like to understand why. Maybe we can both grow a little bit. There's an idea. You can both take some information and grow as people. Maybe one of the two of you will change your mind. Maybe not. But at least you'll have a little more data instead of assumptions. And let's end on this. Thank you for joining Free Speech Northwest.